So I just got back from a week-long motorcycle adventure in the backcountry of Colorado, riding a brand new Ducati Multistrada V2S. And in this video, I want to give you some of my thoughts about this motorcycle and see how it compares to some of the other mid-size adventure bikes that I've ridden in the past. Ducati loaned me this motorcycle and didn't require that I say anything at all about it. And so what you're going to hear in this video is strictly my own thoughts and opinions on this bike. So I spent about a week in Colorado riding this bike on-road and off-road. In all, I did about 2,000 miles on this trip, and I carried all of my food and camping gear on the motorcycle. I put 600 miles on the Ducati yesterday to get up here, and I really had no issues, other than I was just tired at the end of the day. You know, I typically ride my BMW GS or Husqvarna 701. I would say this compares a little more to the GS in terms of the ergonomics and the comfort factor, but it's definitely a little bit nimble, sprightly. It's got a 19-inch front wheel, so really oriented for almost like sport touring, I would say. We'll get into some dirt roads on this adventure, and I'm sure we'll have a good time with that as well. So Ducati came out with a brand new engine for this motorcycle. It's completely redesigned from scratch. It's a 90-degree V-twin. It puts out 115 horsepower. It has a hydraulic clutch, a new 2.0 quick shifter, a new aluminum monocoque frame with a trellis rear subframe and an aluminum swing arm. The bike that I got is the S model, which means that it has the electronic suspension, and it uses a horizontally mounted monoshock with their Skyhook technology. It has 45mm diameter forks, and it has Brembo brakes on semi-floating 320mm discs. So the dry weight of the bike is 445 pounds, and that's 40 pounds less than the previous V2s. The fuel tank holds about 5 gallons or 19 liters, and the standard seat height can go between about 32.5 to 33.5 inches. And on the Ducati website, the V2S starts at about $19,595, and I think that this bike, configured the way that it is roughly $27,500. So I went through the Ducati website and configured this bike exactly the way that I wanted, which means that I basically put all of their adventure motorcycle accessories on it that I felt would be things that I could use. So some of the accessories that I configured for this bike include the aluminum side panniers. They're 85 liters and they're made in collaboration with Touratech. I'd say that they've worked pretty well so far. I like that they have the attachment points on the top for attaching rock straps and luggage rolls. There's a nice grab handle on the top. And of course, they're lockable and they're removable. And in general, I would say they did everything that I would expect hard panniers to do. They kept my luggage safe and dry, kept the dust out of there, allowed me to attach some extra luggage rolls on top of the panniers, and just in general worked pretty well. Now they make a rear luggage rack for this bike. This is the luggage rack that the bike came with. I'm not sure why it moves side to side like this, but I believe this would be able to attach their top case to this luggage rack. And I configured the bike with this power extension cable so that that's available if I need to tap into the power. I got the heated hand grips, which have 3 different comfort levels. I don't know if it's right, but the thermometer on the bike says 37 degrees. It's nice to be riding a bike with heated grips. The bike came with the Ducati Zumo 396 satellite navigator. That's the GPS system that I'm using. I definitely wanted to get the spoked rims, and that's what these are. The cool thing is that they're made for tubeless tires. The front diameter is 19 inches and 17 inches in the rear. I'm running the Pirelli Scorpion tires. That's what the bike came with. And I do have to say that I am not impressed at all with those tires off-road. As you can see, I've pretty much worn out the rear tire. The bike has about 2,600 miles on it right now, and my back tire is slipping and sliding. So that's probably going to be one of the first things that I'm going to change, is to get a better new rear tire for this bike for the off-road performance. I also got the bike with a center stand, but as you can see, I'm having a problem getting it up on the center stand. I don't know exactly what I'm doing wrong, but there is just no way that I can lift this bike up on the center stand by myself. So one of the first things I ordered was the Enduro accessory package, It comes with these extra spotlights, radiator protection, steel engine guards, crash bars, and these off-road foot pegs. They came with these rubber inserts, but I removed them just because I wanted the better grip and performance when I'm riding off-road. The display has a completely new system with a 4-button pad controller that has a joystick and a button in the center. We've got cruise control, riding modes, turn signals, horn and hazard lights. And this is the classic Ducati ignition switch. So I really like the display screen. It's bright, there's a lot of customization. The riding modes include touring, urban, enduro, wet, and sport. So there's a lot of different customizable settings in these modes. For example, I just switched over to enduro mode. Settings are power off-road, ABS 1, DTC 2, DWC off, EBC 3, and suspension is set for off-road. I can adjust the parameters of the riding mode while riding by just holding down the right arrow. We're on our way up Old Monarch Pass. I should probably switch over to sport mode now. There we go. And let's go back into enduro mode. I'm noticing around some of these corners that I can throw the back end out just a little bit because I'm in enduro mode. That either limits or turns off the traction control. There's traction control, there's engine power output, engine braking, ABS. Other data includes fuel level, air temperature, tachometer, speedometer, the current gear, the water temperature, the time. All the basic information that you would expect on a modern touchscreen is available at your fingertips and through the menus. So let's talk about the ergonomics and comfort of this bike, because that is one thing that I really enjoyed. I felt that it was definitely as good as the BMW 1200 that I ride in terms of its overall ergonomics and comfort factor. In fact, it felt very similar to me. I would say for me, for my height, about 5'11 and a half, I could maybe use just a slight bar rise, but other than that, foot placement seems great. I like the feel of the tank and the seat through my knees. I feel like I can get a pretty good grip on that portion. My feet didn't touch the rear foot pegs at all with my heel while I was riding, standing up or sitting down. I'm going to lower the windscreen because I don't need a real high windscreen for this type of riding, and I'll show you just how easy it is to do so. I just reach up here, drop it down just like that. I didn't notice any turbulence even with my ADV helmet, and these shoulder deflectors also help prevent turbulence. Sitting in the cockpit, I feel like the view is really great. There's really no obstructions. I can see just over the top of the windscreen, and then of course when I stand up, absolutely no obstructions whatsoever. The seat is adjustable into 2 positions. I really like the seat padding. I found it to be comfortable even over the long distances. I actually am finding the lower seat height on this bike to work really well for me to be able to just get off and on the bike a lot easier than a real tall bike. I didn't use cruise control a lot, but when I did, it disengaged smoothly without any jolting, and I would just use the brakes or the button to turn it off. All in all, I would say that this was very comfortable for both the long distances and off-road. As far as the engine, I found that it maybe struggles a little bit at low revs and higher gear, and it stalls out a little bit easier in low gear at the low revs. That's one thing I've noticed with the Ducati is that it just has to be revved a little bit higher in first gear. It stalls out a little easier than my GS. Just in general, it feels like it wants to be revved up, and it is happier at those higher revs than my GS. There's a lot of mid-range power. It has pretty smooth delivery, a lot of torque that really pulled me out of the corners, and just in general, it delivers a lot at high revs. I would say that the clutch is maybe just a little bit on the stiff side. It could get tiring if I was in traffic, but I didn't have any issues with it for the kind of riding that I was doing. There's a quick shifter. It's really crisp. It's really fast, especially in the higher gears. And overall, I would just say that I could really go at high speeds with confidence on this motorcycle, and it was fun. The front brakes work really well, easy to modulate, lots of stopping power. The rear brake pedal is a little bit low. I thought it could be maybe just a tiny bit higher to be a little bit more solid. The tires and the wheel diameters are the same as the V4. You've got a 17-inch in the rear and a 19-inch in the front. The elevation on the GPS here is showing us that we're at 12,000 feet right about now. Well, this is a moment to be proud of. I have wanted to take this Ducati on a proper adventure ride, and here we are at 12,000 feet in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado. How do you like that? I just could not be happier about this moment to be up here on this bike, on this adventure. This is literally a high point of the trip. So this is the road coming down from the pass. You can see how loose and rocky it is. Now for the suspension, they use Ducati's Skyhook system. As you can see, it is a fairly rocky road in some places, but that's what we're after. We're not out here to ride the easiest roads in the world. We're not out here to ride the hardest ones either, but a good balance. Well, one thing I would note in terms of this bike compared to other mid-sized adventure bikes is that, the Ducati is not designed for super hard off-road, racing, performance. It's not a KTM in that respect. I don't think it has the clearance or the suspension. And so I'm not going to try to ride it like that. I'm going to try to ride it in a way that feels like it wants to be ridden and on roads that I feel would be good ones. And so that's why I'm just kind of cruising along, picking my lines, really trying to go easy on the suspension and just work my way through all of this with patience and joy. I really didn't futz around too much with suspension settings, and so I pretty much just rode it the way it was, and I didn't have any problems. Yeah, so I would say this is a pretty good next level test for the Ducati. There's plenty of challenges here, embedded rocks, potholes, all kinds of stuff to pay attention to. The bike's just behaving like it was built for this. Oh, this is awesome. Good job, Ducati. Well, this is quite an accomplishment. I am so proud to be up here on the top of Cinnamon Pass in the wind on this motorcycle. Gorgeous views all around. There's the Ducati fully loaded with camping gear, but I'm not going to be camping up here. This is just way too windy. I guess I was kind of under the assumption from what I read that it was actually going to be a little easier than it was. It turned out to be a bit more challenging than I thought it would be. I'm just going to step my way through it a little bit here. There we go. But this bike has a relatively low seat, and I do really like that, especially in those kind of situations where it's tricky and you need to put a foot out and plant it solidly on the ground. Okay, there we go. Well, I feel pretty darn good about that. I have made it across Cinnamon Pass. I just wanted to have an enjoyable, somewhat challenging ride, put myself and the bike to a little bit of a test, and I feel like I absolutely did that. That was a perfect morning ride. So there you go. These are some of my initial thoughts about the new Ducati Multistrada V2S from a 2,000-mile ride on-road and off-road in Colorado. I've really enjoyed this bike so far. I would not hesitate to go out and do anything with this bike that I would do on my BMW 1200 GS. And in fact, I've got a couple other big rides planned for this machine very soon. But I just wanted to give you some of my initial thoughts and opinions on the bike, how it compares to what I've ridden in the past, how I liked it for this kind of motorcycle touring, a mixture of pavement and some fairly rugged off-road riding. I think they did a great job. I like how I was able to accessorize it right on the website with all original Ducati parts, the crash bars, the bash plates, the spoked wheels, the luggage. So all in all, a great bike, and I'm really looking forward to my next adventure. I hope that you guys found this video helpful, and you should go check out the Ducati website. Configure your own Multistrada V2. All right, we'll see you in the next one.